Hey, what is up? Excuse me. Sorry about that. What is up, everybody? This is your boy AJ Tripp, and welcome to the Game According to Me podcast. Another episode for you. And this one's mainly just going to be about the NBA free agency stuff that has happened. The last time we talked, we were just coming off the draft. We talked about the draft and some of the things that have happened, and then free agency hadn't happened yet. But man, it has since went down, and it has went down big time. It started that Monday, June 30th, and it started with a bang. We had already talked about some of the big names in free agency, and they went off the board pretty quickly. Kemba Walker immediately went from Charlotte to Boston, and at the end it started out to be a sign and trade deal. Scary Terry Rozier went to Hornets in the return. Then we had the whole Kevin Durant and Kyrie moving up, and we had a whole lot of other things happen. So mainly that's what this main episode is going to be about today. It's going to be about NBA free agency. Not a lot of stuff going down in the NFL. The next time we come at you, July 27th. Um, there will be training camp. Training camp for, at the very least, the guys in the Hall of Fame game. Training camp would have started for them, but training camp may have started for a lot of teams in the NFL. So by then, that's what we'll have, and we'll have like some other things too that will be going down. But mainly, for the most part, and when it comes to baseball, we had the All-Star game. But the All-Star game was, it was what it was. I didn't watch too much of it. There was other things going on that I wanted to see. And of course, we got WWE and wrestling. And actually, tomorrow is WWE Extreme Rules. Make sure that you check the description box and go sign up for my YouTube channel, AJ Tripp, because tomorrow, after Extreme Rules, I will have my rapid reaction for it. So you want to make sure you go there, click the notification bell, and subscribe so that you can get the rapid reaction to WWE Extreme Rules tomorrow night after it goes off. But mainly this whole episode is going to be about NBA free agency and the stuff that went down. We had several big moves, several big trades. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. So like I said, once June 30th came out, we knew some of the big names. It was really the 5Ks. It was Kawhi Leonard. It was Kevin Durant. It was Kyrie Irving. It was Kemba Walker, and it was Klay Thompson. Where were these guys going to go? So thank you to the Sport News. They have a list of the signings in 2019. So I'm going to read them off to you, and we'll talk about them and how this affects everything else. So let's start off. We have Kawhi Leonard agrees to a 3-year, $103 million contract with the Los Angeles Clippers. He also had Paul George go to the Oklahoma City Thunder and had them trade him to the Clippers in exchange for a record number of draft picks plus guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and forward Danilo Gallinari. Now this means that the Clippers now have two great defenders in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And these guys can D up some of the biggest wings, the best wings in the game. They can D up the likes of LeBron James, the likes of Klay Thompson, the likes of many others in the game. So even Kevin Durant, when Kevin Durant comes back, that's going to be very interesting. So the Clippers are, and they also re-signed Patrick Beverley, brought back their starting point guard. So the Clippers have now become a beast in the Western Conference. We also have Kevin Durant. He agrees to a 4-year, $164 million contract with the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie Irving also signed a 4-year, $142 million contract with the Brooklyn Nets, now making the Brooklyn Nets the number one team in New York City. They now have 2 stars, along with a great team that made the playoffs last year. You know, gave the Sixers some grief in the playoffs. So this is going to be when Kevin Durant comes back. Who knows if he's going to play this year with the ruptured Achilles? So he is going to have some fantastic. You know, if Kevin Durant comes back and he becomes the player that we all think he is, this is going to be a absolutely fantastic team in the future. And maybe Kyrie Irving also will have more chemistry with Kevin Durant and his new Brooklyn Nets teammates than he did in Boston. Like I just mentioned, Kimber Walker, he signed a 4-year, $141 million contract as part of a signing trade with the Boston Celtics. The Charlotte Hornets are also going to receive Terry Rozier, like I said. The teams also swapped second-round picks in the 2020 NBA draft. So here we are. Look at this. We got the Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, he agreed to a 4-year, $142 million contract with the Miami Heat as part of a signing trade with the 76ers. Miami also receives Myers Leonard from the Portland Trail Blazers and cash considerations from the Los Angeles Clippers as part of a 4-team swap. The Sixers received Josh Richardson, and the Trail Blazers received Hassan Whiteside from the Heat. The Clippers received Mo Harkless from the Trailblazers and the draft rights to Matthias Lesort from the Sixers as part and a protected first-round pick from the Heat. The Clippers flipped the pick to the Thunder in the Paul George trade. So that right there, that's a mouthful. But basically, what you had, Jimmy Butler is now on the Heat, now on the Miami Heat. So right as of right now, and I have not checked Twitter in a little bit. Let me check Twitter, but because things could have went down. But as of right now, Jimmy Butler is the only star a part of the Miami Heat. And so some people may say, well, why are they trading Hassan Whiteside, to the Blazers? He seems to be maybe a liability, but I can see why it is because Yusuf Nurkic he's coming off a broken leg, so he's going to need some he's going to need some, maybe some time off where, he's not going to play every game. He probably won't play in back to backs. He probably won't play. Now they don't do a lot of anymore. They don't do a lot of 3 and 4 nights or a lot of 4 and 5 nights like they used to. But he probably won't play too much, and who knows if he's going to start the season as well. So I can see why the Blazers took Hassan Whiteside. D'Angelo Russell, he agrees to a 4-year, $117 million contract with the Golden State Warriors as part of a signing trade with the Brooklyn Nets. Trevion Graham and Shabazz Napier are going to the Golden State Warriors from Brooklyn. Golden State is sending Napier, Graham, and Cash to the Timberwolves. The Warriors are also sending Andre Iguodala and a future first-round pick to the Memphis Grizzlies. So the Warriors already are changing their spots. They are sending one of their members of the Hamptons Five, sending him away, and then they are sending, and they're sending the people that they get from Brooklyn, other than D'Angelo Russell, away as well. So Golden State is already changing their spots. DeMarcus Cousins, who was on the Warriors, he agrees to a 1-year, $3.5 million contract with the Lakers. He's going to be the center. What's his name will play Antonio Davis, who I don't know if we talked about him last week. I don't know if that trade had happened. Actually, that trade did happen because the trade happened and so it had happened before the draft. So we talked about it last week. But Anthony Davis is on the Lakers. So now we have DeMarcus at the starting center. We have more than likely they did resign. JaVale McGee. But I would assume that DeMarcus Cousins, he has the most potential. He is probably going to be a starting center, and Anthony Davis is going to be the power forward. Now, there was a report that LeBron James is going to play point guard. However, Frank Vogel has kind of went off and denied that. He's kind of just said, "Well, don't get on your things about that. We'll wait and see." So there's been some talk about that. A good get for the Lakers. Al Horford, he agreed to a 4-year, $109 million contract with the 76ers. So even though they lose Jimmy Butler, they signed Al Horford, and coming up with we're talking about Tobias Harris, and then they also re-signed Tobias Harris. Klay Thompson, he agreed to a 5-year, $190 million contract with the Golden State Warriors. He's going to be a Golden State Warrior. Now as we heard, he tore his ACL in the finals. So we'll wait and see if he does come back. He more than likely will come back towards the end of the year, going into the playoffs. Now I think the Warriors probably could again make the playoffs. They would probably be a 7, 8 seed, maybe at the highest a 6 seed. But if Klay Thompson comes back, and he comes back, as good as he was before, the Warriors have a shot to make some noise in the playoffs, whether it is 6, 7, or 8 seed. You wouldn't think it, but they have a shot. Chris Middleton, he agrees to a 5-year, $1 million contract with the Milwaukee Bucks. He stays in Milwaukee. So now Giannis has his number 2 guy back. So that's good for Giannis. Danny Green, who was in Toronto, he signed a 2-year, $30 million contract to go to the Lakers. So now there's more shooting for LeBron and Cousins and Davis at the Lakers. Chris Stapps, Porzingis, remember in the middle of the year, he was traded from New York to Dallas. He agrees to stay in Dallas on a 5-year, $158 million contract. And Chris Stapps, he tore his ACL last year. He did not play once this year, so he's going to have a whole full year to have recovered. So him and the Rookie of the Year, Luka Doncic, it should be fantastic times in Dallas. Nikola Vucevic, he agreed a 4-year, $100 million contract to stay in the Orlando Magic. So Orlando was a playoff team this year. They keep their number 1 guy, Nikola Vucevic. Jamal Murray, star point guard for the Denver Nuggets, agreed to a 5-year, $170 million contract extension to stay there. Harrison Barnes, he agrees to a 4-year, $85 million contract with the Kings. Marc Gasol exercised his $25.6 million player option to stay in Toronto. Paul Millsap had his $30 million team option exercised with the Denver Nuggets, so he is staying in Denver. Marvin Williams is staying in Charlotte. He exercised his $15 million player option. Bismack Biyombo exercised his $17 million player option to stay in Charlotte. Brook Lopez, he's staying in Milwaukee. He agrees to a 4-year, $52 million contract to stay in Milwaukee. Also, they signed his brother, Robin Lopez, who was in Chicago Bulls. J.J. Redick, who was in Philly, he signed a 2-year, $26 million contract to go to New Orleans. So he's going to be playing with Zion. So isn't that interesting? I mentioned Patrick Beverley. He is staying with the Clippers on a 3-year, $40 million contract. Marcus Morris, he signs a 1-year, $15 million contract with the New York Knicks. DeAndre Jordan, he agreed to a 4-year, $40 million contract with the Brooklyn Nets. Now his announcement was also announced with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. So you now have your defensive player of the year, former defensive player of the year, I believe, DeAndre Jordan. In the middle, you have your point guard and you have your small forward. So you've got everything you need in Brooklyn. Nikola Mirotic, who was with the Milwaukee Bucks, he decided to go back over to the EuroLeague. He's going to play with Barcelona. Derrick Rose, he agreed to a 2-year, $15 million contract with the Pistons. Some people here in Chicago wanted Derrick Rose to return. I didn't. We had enough Derrick Rose stuff. Let him go and play in Detroit. He can play with what's his face and Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. Jonas Valanciunas, he agreed to a 3-year, $45 million contract with the Memphis Grizzlies. He had traded in the middle of the year. He was traded with Paul Gasol and everything like that. So he stays in Memphis. Gerald Green, he agrees to return to the Houston Rockets on a 1-year deal. Terrence Ross, He agrees to return to the Orlando Magic on a 4-year, $54 million contract. Al Farik Aminu. He agrees to a 3-year, $29 million contract to go to Orlando. Ricky Rubio, surprisingly, he took a 3-year, $51 million contract to go to Phoenix. So this is good now because with the trade that was, Memphis traded Mike Conley to Utah. There was no need to re-sign Ricky Rubio, so Ricky Rubio now goes to the Suns. He now plays with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, the big man. So maybe now he can help Devin Booker out and help the big man out get better. We know Devin Booker he's very close to becoming a superstar in this league. He's dropped 60 already in his few years. Trevor Ariza, he agrees to a 2-year, $25 million contract with the Sacramento Kings. Malcolm Bog, hold on, Malcolm Brogdon. He agrees to a 4-year, $85 million contract with the Indiana Pacers. Indiana sent a first-round pick and 2 future second-round picks to Milwaukee as part of a sign-and trade for Brogdon. Now, Victor Oladipo is going to come back. They have a point guard now who is actually bigger than Oladipo. So this is going to be, I think, a good team. The Indiana Pacers were already a team, playoff team, and so now they're going to get their star back, and they're going to get someone else who could be another star. So that a former Rookie of the Year, but they do lose Bogdan Bogdanovic. He agreed to a 4-year, $73 million contract with the Utah Jazz. Now, with getting Mike Conley and getting Bogdan Bogdanovic, and they having their star in there with Donovan Mitchell, Utah could be one of the undercard teams that could make a play in the NBA Finals. To make it go to the NBA Finals and win the West and go to the NBA Finals. So we're going to be looking out for the Utah Jazz this year. Thaddeus Young, he agrees to a 3-year, $41 million contract to come to the Chicago Bulls and play here. Rodney Hood agrees to a 2-year, $16 million contract to stay in Portland. Thomas Bryant agrees to a 3-year, $35 million contract with the Washington Wizards. Tobias Harris, he agrees to a 5-year, $180 million contract to return to the Sixers. So does Mike Scott. He agrees to a 2-year, $9.8 million contract to return to the Sixers. Now, the Sixers on point, if you look at their starting lineup, what could be their starting lineup, it could be, I'm not sure who would play the shooting guard, but 4 of the starters. At center, Joel Embiid. At power forward, Al Horford. At small forward, Tobias Harris. At shooting guard, I don't know. I don't know because they lost J.J. Redick. But at the point, geez, I forget his name already. Ben Simmons. So, that already, you might say that they, at this point, could be the favorites in the Eastern Conference. They could be the favorites. So we'll have to wait and see. But the Sixers could be the runaway favorites in the East. But they are going to have to deal with teams like Toronto and teams like the Indiana Pacers. Indiana Pacers signed Jeremy Lamb. He agreed to a 3-year, $31.5 million contract. DeMarre Carroll, he agreed to a 3-year, $21 million contract with the San Antonio Spurs. There were a lot of other things. There were a lot of other signings. I'm not going to get into all of them. I do want to talk about 2 things. I want to talk about the New York Knicks. Because there are a lot of things. The New York Knicks, the reason they traded Porzingis and the reason why they did a lot of this is because they were trying to get 2 max spots to get 2 stars. And they didn't really get anybody. They didn't get anybody, unfortunately. A lot of Stephen A. Smith had me cracking up because he's a Knicks fan and he had me cracking up. A lot of people in New York cannot believe that people decided to go to Brooklyn instead of playing in New York. So what does the Knicks do? They signed 3 power forwards. They signed Julius Randle to a 3-year, $23 million contract with the New York Knicks. They signed Taj Gibson on a 2-year, $20 million contract to the New York Knicks, and they signed Bobby Portis to a 2-year, $31 million contract with the New York Knicks. So really, it's just whatever. So yeah, and there's a lot of other signings, a lot of other names. Enes Kanter, he signed a contract with the Boston Celtics. I think that's going to be an interesting thing to have another big, because like I said, they lost Al Horford, but the game in Enes Kanter, his defense is not as good as Horford's is, so that's going to be a thing. There's a lot of other signings and everything like that. But now let's talk about what just has recently happened. And we talked about the Oklahoma City trade sending Paul George to the Clippers. And what else has gone down is that now a couple of days ago, Oklahoma City traded Russell Westbrook to the Houston Rockets for Chris Paul. And this has really shocked the world. The landscape has totally changed with the NBA. And the Western Conference is now totally deep. Even Mark Cuban says that now everyone has a super team, which I don't think so. I think a super team would consist of 3 stars. I don't really think anybody has a super team. A lot of teams have 2 stars, and they have good supporting cast. The Lakers have a good supporting cast with Bron and Davis as your superstars, Cousins and Kuzma as your stars, as your great supporting cast. The Clippers as 2 superstars and Leonard and George, and then a great supporting cast. The Warriors with Green and Thompson and I would say Curry and Thompson as your superstars, Green as your R star, and then we'll see what the supporting cast is like. They're getting back up. They got D'Angelo Russell. They also signed Glenn Robinson III and re-upped Kevin Looney. So we'll see what they're at. Portland, there are 2 superstars, and um, Lillard and the shooting guard, CJ McCollum. Like we talked about Nurkic, who is a budding superstar. He has coming off a broken leg. We'll see how he does. Rodney Hood seemed to play very well with them, so we'll see how he happens. So they've got a great supporting cast. We talked about Houston, Utah, Donovan Mitchell, their superstar. Now they get Bogdanovich and Conley, great supporting cast around him. Utah's going to be something special. There's a nice supporting cast in Houston now with your 2 superstars of Westbrook and Harden. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. The Denver Nuggets, Jamal Murray and Nurkic or Jokic, the Joker, yeah, Joker. Nurkic is in Portland, Jokic is in Denver, and Jokic is the Joker. You know, those are 2 unassuming superstars, and they got a good supporting cast around them, a good young. And let's not forget, Michael Porter Jr. did not play last year. If Michael Porter Jr. becomes the player that people think he is, you're talking about 3 good young stars. Denver could truly shock the world. Truly shock the world. And they play in that high altitude. So let's not forget that. Who else am I forgetting? I'm not sure, but it's Sacramento is an up and coming team. There are many things out there. So the West is going to be something. I mean, you talk about the East. We talked about Philadelphia with their supporting cast. There's superstar, in the B, Simmons, to Harris, and Horford, and the rest some good young supporting cast. Toronto loses Leonard, but they still have Kyle Lowry. They still have Mark Gasol, and they still have their young guy Pascal Siakam. They still should be a force. Milwaukee, Giannis is still there. They now have both Lopez's, Brooke and Robin. They re-signed Chris Middleton, so they have their guys there. Indiana, we talked about it. They get Malcolm Brogdon from Milwaukee. Oladipo will come back. And they lose Thaddeus Young and Bogdan Bogdanovic, but they get Jeremy Lamb and they get some other guys that I think could be young up-and-comers as well. The Magic, they said they re-signed their guy, Vukovic. They've got some young guys. If Markel Fultz could become a player, that team is going to be an up-and-coming as well. Of course, it's Brooklyn. Brooklyn get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Unfortunately, there will be no season this year, more than likely for Kevin Durant. But when Kevin Durant comes back next year, they're going to be the major force to deal with, I think, in the Eastern Conference, without question. Even that first year, back off the ruptured Achilles tendon, I still think that by the playoffs, Kevin Durant will have his feet back under him, no pun intended, and he'll be ready to go. Who am I forgetting in the East? You know what? Atlanta could, they've got a young backcourt in Trae Young and Huertas, and they could, shock the world and come back. They got a great power forward too, a young power forward. My Bulls, we don't necessarily have a star, but we get good young talent. And we signed Thaddeus Young. We've also signed Thomas Sazarante from Washington. We also get the draft pick Kobe White coming in. So who knows what could happen with this? And then here's the big thing. I mentioned earlier about checking Twitter because there seems to be a thing where like Chris Paul might be traded to Miami to play with Jimmy Butler. Now, if that happens, Miami becomes a big time force. Right now, they're not. Because I think even though Jimmy Butler's going to be the main guy, I don't know if Jimmy Butler will be enough. Unless someone steps up their game for their young guys, I just don't know if Miami has what it takes. Washington, we know what Washington has with Bill and Wall. Wall's coming off an injury. But again, they could go up and down. They did sign Isaiah Thomas, so maybe what you would do is maybe play Isaiah Thomas at the point, John Wall at the 2, maybe Bradley Beal at the 3, maybe a three guard lineup, go small type thing. So who knows? But the NBA landscape has changed more than ever. The 2019-2020 season of the NBA final of the NBA season, you can't just say where it's going to be so and so and so and so. You don't know. You don't know who's coming out of the East. You don't know who's coming out of the West. And I think that is going to make for a fantastic NBA season next year. I cannot wait. So that is going to be it for this episode of the Game According to Me. Let me know what you guys think. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on all my social media. Once again, if you like what you hear, you want to support me, the support link is down in the description box below. It's 3 tiers. It's $9.99, $4.99, or 99 cents. Anything is okay. I appreciate it so much just for your support. Make sure you do all your liking and all your sharing and do all of that good stuff. Okay? I will see you guys in 2 weeks, July 13th. No, today's July 27th. Once again, we'll see what will happen. That might be the shortest episode because we don't know what's going to be happening. So we may have a really short episode, but after that one, we should be talking about a lot as football season starts and everything like that. So thank you guys so much for listening. This is your boy, AJ Tripp, signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.